What's up, everybody? My name is Brad, and today I've got another book review for you, and I'm going to be talking about Snowball by Gregory Bastianelli, and this is put out by Flame Tree Press. This one actually just came out on January 30th, so just about a week or so ago. I'm going to go ahead and read the synopsis, and then I'll get into my thoughts and feelings about the book. So for this one, a group of motorists become stranded on a lonely stretch of highway during a Christmas Eve blizzard and fight for survival against an unnatural force in the storm. The gathered survivors realize a tenuous connection among them means it may not be a coincidence that they all ended up on this highway. An attempt to seek help leads a few of the travelers to a house in the woods where a twisted toy maker with a mystical snow globe is hell-bent on playing deadly games with a group of people just trying to get home for the holidays. So that's the synopsis of the book. I really enjoyed the first part of this book. The book's split into two halves. There's part one, an interlude, and part two. Part one, I really enjoyed part one. It starts out where there's, like I said, there's a blizzard that takes place, and it's not just inches of snow. It's tons and tons, feet of snow. And we start out along this sort of almost deserted stretch of highway. It's Christmas Eve, it's late at night, and we start out with this snowplow driver. He's trying to get home, get the roads plowed so he can get home to his wife and his kids, his grandkids, and he becomes stuck. And then sort of sinister things start to happen. The enemies, if you will, were not what I was expecting. So they were kind of goofy but sinister and creepy in a way. And then behind the snowplows, a few cars sort of pile up because the snowplows left on the road. And this is where we meet our merry band of stranded people, if you will. There's like a semi-truck, an SUV, a hatchback, 2 or 3 cars, and this group of people, they all get stranded on the highway, stuck behind the snowplow because it wasn't able to plow the rest of the road. The tractor trailer jackknifes, so anybody behind it couldn't get past anyway because the trailer's jackknifed on the side of the highway. But all these people, and there's an RV. The RV is sort of important. But all these strangers, they're all strangers to each other. They're all trying to get home for the holidays. They all got stuck late leaving work, or certain circumstances came up where there's one family, it's a mom and 2 kids. The ex-husband was supposed to bring the kids, but he got too drunk and couldn't bring them, so the wife had to go out. So there's all these different circumstances that caused all these different travelers to be late leaving where they were to get home. That all caused them to get stranded and stuck in this storm. Most of the people collect into an RV for comfort and warmth, try to ride out the storm together. And this is one of my favorite parts of the book. They all end up telling stories about their worst Christmases, worst Christmas Eves, worst winter stories for them that they've ever had. So they're all sort of flashbacks. A lot of them were when they were a lot younger, kids or teenagers. And I really enjoyed those parts of the book the most, I believe. They were all dealt with some sort of loss or suffering or something tragic happening, all the stories that they told. So they all had something sort of in common that way. And we learn later throughout the book as sort of this mystery unravels, that they're actually more connected than one would think at first glance. They all have some sort of connection, and they sort of start to figure this out as they're telling their stories in the RV about their past. There's a name that's mentioned that one of the characters knows and another one knows, and a few other people happen to have run into that certain person. So they're all connected by this one certain person that led them, seemingly, that connected them all together for some reason or not. And then we have, that's sort of part one. There's sort of, people are seeing scary images, scary things out in the snow. There's a man in sort of a crisp black suit with like a red necktie, and he has some sort of weapon that a few of them have seen. There's these other creatures. I don't want to say what they are really. Like I said, they're sort of goofy but sinister at the same time. So people are not sure if they're actually seeing these things or if they're sort of getting cabin fever or sort of delusions from being cold and hypothermia. They're not really sure what is going on. They're just hoping to, ride out the storm and hope for daybreak to come where rescuers or the snowplows can come through and rescue them. So then we get to the interlude, and the interlude kind of caught me off guard because I didn't know who it was talking about. But once I got later into the book, it made more sense, and I really enjoyed the interlude as well. It tied into how all the characters are connected to each other. And then part two, I didn't enjoy part two as much as part one. Part two is sort of where the stuff starts to go down, crap starts to hit the fan. We get some really good and gruesome kills in part two. The book has a pretty high body count, and it has some great imagery. The stark white snow with the splashes of red blood on top. Some great imagery in my mind with that. But then it's odd where in the description it talks about this house and the toy maker. That's sort of where I started to lose the story a little bit. It felt odd and a little bit out of place for what had been set up previously. In my opinion, I didn't enjoy the parts with the toy maker and the house and things as much. It wasn't bad by any means. It just wasn't as interesting as the first part of the book. I did enjoy sort of the reveal of why and how they were all connected, but at the same time, it felt like it was sort of overkill for the reasoning behind the big bad's motivations, if you will. I didn't feel like these motivations were earned. Really, they were sort of just thrown out there, and they were just doing this for the sake of doing it. Like I said, it didn't really feel earned, but I did like the revelations of how all the characters were connected. That part was pretty fun. Like I said, it has some really cool kill scenes. It did sort of become a little bit predictable towards the end about who might live and who might die and what was going to happen a little bit. But overall, it was a fun read. It was sort of thrilling. It's a great Christmas, snowy read. Like I said, it takes place on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So it is a great fun, sort of quick holiday read. It was only like 280 pages or so. It didn't take that long to read it. There was something I wanted to say about it. I can't think what it is. It definitely played out like a 90s horror movie. I could totally see this, playing in the theater, sort of, your horror movie that would have taken place in the 90s. I can totally see this being on screen. And it had some great imagery, some good kills. There was really some creepy scenes, especially in sort of the flashbacks. There's one in particular I'm thinking of that involves a snowmobile and a strand of barbed wire. I don't want to say anything else about that, but that was a really cool, creepy, chilling scene. But overall, I did enjoy this book. I gave it 3 stars. It was good. It had a stronger first half than back half, in my opinion. Became sort of predictable about who was going to live and who was going to die. Sort of like your classic, 90s horror movies. A lot of those sort of followed the same pattern and became a little bit predictable. But if you're looking for a fun, wintry themed, Christmas themed horror read with lots of blood and violence in it, this is one I think you should definitely check out. Like I said, this is Snowball by Gregory Bastianelli from Flame Tree Press. I gave it 3 stars. It was a good, fun, enjoyable read. But that's all I have for y'all today. So thanks for spending your time with me. Again, my name is Brad, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.